Movie nights,
Yep, definitely. Life of
karaoke,
Brian.
Life of Brian. That's always a good
And I
one.
think that gets a bad rap because what's happening, Jesus is in the background. Everything it's happening in the background, but you're just missing it. And it's,
Interesting.
yeah. So when Jesus is born, you can still see the light shining on the stable because everyone's in the wrong house.
Yeah. Wow, don't you love storytelling?
Yeah.
Like movies. I mean, I think this is what I loved about going to Sunday school and hearing all the stories. And they are the stories that shape our culture and the way that we expect it to be. I think there is a greater value placed on the Bible these days than there has been in the last couple of decades. I don't know if you know about Jordan Peterson. He's a famous psychologist now, but he did a whole Maps of Meaning series.
Okay.
He was lecturing at MIT about Bible stories, and I spent the whole of the pandemic watching these because, again, he was finding the relevance and the realness of the stories and
Yeah.
saying, look, it wasn't about that, it's about this. And like honestly, like at this point, I'm closest I could ever be to finding my faith, or going to church and
Yeah.
and really feeling it. What would you say to get me to go to church?
I'd probably say at the moment, don't come to church, don't come into a service, because if it's
Ooh.
not, if you're going to come in and you're going to think, what the heck's going on here? I don't feel comfortable. Then that's not great. But I'd say to you, come to the garden. Let's, come into the garden. Let's see what we can do there. Maybe you can do some other stuff. But actually, ministry is not just about what I do in a collar. We're all called by God to do something. We're all called to love our neighbor, love God. And however we do that, I mean, your ministry, this, you know, giving people's stories out to other people, and the work you do, when you're filming a funeral, that's ministry. That's not just that's not just a job.
Mm.
There's so many other things you could be doing, you know, but that's really giving.
Hmm. How do you feel about bad people who practice religion?
Well, it's hypocrisy, isn't it? It's there are people just go to church just to get their God stamp. And I believe that's why so many young people leave the church, because they are taken to Sunday school or they're taken to church and they hear the stories, and then they leave and they see their parents acting in a way, or their neighbors acting in a way, and they think, hang on a minute, this doesn't add up. Well, it must be the church that's wrong because this is my life.
Mm.
So unless they've got that personal relationship with Jesus, they are going to drift. But you were saying earlier about people getting to a certain age, friends of yours getting to a certain age, and coming back to church, and then actually, because when you're young, you've got stuff to you go to university, you're trying to get your first job, you get married, you're having children. There's no people that bring young children to church. I'm like, how on earth do you do that? Seriously, hats
Mm.
off to you. And it is hard. Sunday mornings are difficult, and also Sunday mornings are difficult now because the secular world has taken over Sundays. Shops are open, football practice, netball practice, whatever, music practice, whatever they're doing is generally now on a Sunday morning. So I don't want to fight the secular world. So let's introduce church in different ways.
Mm.
You know,
I think
it's
you're going to
not
be really
about
successful doing it.
it's not about here or there. It's about everything.
Hmm.
We can be both and.
Mm. No, the draw for me at the moment about going to church is probably the time away from my phone, away from a screen. Like
Yeah.
you can't be in church and on your phone. And I think that's probably it's the longest you'll ever spend away from your devices in
Yeah.
a weird way. Do you think that there is something about social media that is like stopping people from like listening to that voice, or like I feel like we're all so like engaged in screens that like you don't spend any time thinking.
No. But it's so, for example, going back to gospel, there were people who were on the breadline. They were on benefits. They were really struggling, genuinely really struggling, but they could only claim their benefits on a smartphone. So they had to have a smartphone. And people say, oh, but they've got these fancy phones. Yes, but they can't live without these fancy phones because everything, their gas top ups, electric, everything was on the phone. So they're becoming an absolute necessity now. I don't think we hardly ever use them to ring, do we? We don't. We do. You're WhatsApping, or you're on Instagram, or you're doing your bits and pieces. I mean, I do
Mm.
thank God that I grew up before Facebook. I have to say, just saying.
Me too. Yeah, I still remember my Nokia brick phone.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. But I mean, I wouldn't want to be a teenager now with the pressures.
Mm.
I'm not just talking about the filters on the phones, but the pressures of being. They're not allowed to be young anymore.
Mm.
They're all. There's a lot of them that they seem to look the same. And I mean, we had trends, but it was trends in different. You had the goths and you had the whatever, but now they all seem to want to be the Kardashians, and you've got
Mm.
these beautiful young girls that are just covering themselves in stuff, and you think, just wait, just wait.
Just
But
wait.
you can't. I sound like I sound old now.
No, no. I mean, what were you when you were younger? Were you a punk,
I
a
was a
mod?
complete rebel.
You were rebel.
Oh, I went. Yeah, I went through a few phases.
A couple of phases. I love that. Come on then.
Shaved my head and dyed it blue
Oh
once.
God,
Yeah.
that's very unholy of you.
Was a little bit. It was a little bit. Um, but no, I was the kind of I was the blonde freckled white girl in a sea of Mediterranean, you know,
Oh, interesting.
which was so yeah. So I've experienced being the other as well.
Wow.
The stranger in the midst. It doesn't quite.
Mm.
You're kind of one
You
of us, but you're
you
not.
do strike me as a rebellious vicar. I mean, it must be a lot of fun though. Like you must have a lot of fun doing this.
Yeah, yeah. It is. It's great fun.
Yeah.
But you've got to. If you can't love what you do, then there's no point in doing it. And it's all for Jesus.
Mm.
It's all. But I do have to remind myself sometimes when I'm having these mad ideas. I think okay, that's a really good idea, but how is that going to bring people closer to God?
Mm.
It's not just about the fanfare or the pomp. It's about making it real. And I hope that I do. I hope that my integrity comes through. That and my love for Jesus in everything I do. I mean, there's one.